Hey guys, we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief because the burden of creativity is no longer upon us, and metal has been solved with artificial intelligence. So I woke up today to a video where someone had programmed all of what you're going to need for Gent to happen and had the computer spit out 10 hours of it. And this tells us a lot of things. So let me back up a little bit. If you're not familiar with what gent is, it's an onomatopoeia for the sound of a palm mute. That's how terrible we've gotten with genre splintering here. And, you know, you can't talk about it without talking about Meshuggah. The problem is that Meshuggah, the entire approach that they have, has indirectly created a subgenre because that's how creatively bankrupt everyone is right now. And I've said many times, I have no problems with Meshuggah. Meshuggah is doing a great job at having an organic approach to a completely inorganic sound. And the music, while you can say it's one-dimensional, at least has a character that is uniquely theirs, or at least it did until all of this nonsense happened. And the goal of Meshuggah is to sound like machinery, and the abuse of odd time signatures, polyrhythms, all of that is something that was a cornerstone to their sound since the Nun EP, which I think was still in the 90s sometime. So early 90s. But now, you know, the people have realized that it's a recipe that can be emulated, and you don't have to have a musician's mind to do it. All you have to do is mathematically put your songs together in a way where your open chugs will dictate a rhythm. You got to make sure you have your groove on your hi-hat the whole time. Got to have that. And all of the syncopated chugs that you're putting, make sure your bass drums land on that, and whatever the higher pitch of your riff that you're piecing together is, have your snare land on that. There you go. You got gent. You know, maybe have some toms here and there. Who fucking cares? But it's a shame because there is more depth to what Meshuggah brought to the table, and it's just been Xeroxed over and over again. And now people that aren't even remotely metal-minded can create this kind of thing because it's a recipe. It's not really music. It's not created music. It's assembled music. And the bits of melody that they intersperse are going to be cloyingly simple or just kind of filler in between all of the chugs that everybody needs, because what's happening here is, although you could perhaps elaborate on Meshuggah and take it in a more intelligent direction, what it has been co-opted by is essentially nu metal fans, you know, and because of that, you can understand that, you know, nu metal was essentially just rap with guitars. So now we have the rap hip hop rhythmic aspects with guitars developed a little further with flashier guitar work, more tricky rhythms, but it's essentially the same idea. And when a sound of a band is copied so hard and becomes a subgenre somehow, the message behind it is completely gone, because, you know, what are you doing aside from emulation? You don't have an emotion attached to the project anymore. And what I'll commend Meshuggah for is, you know, it's a human attempt at creating an inhuman atmosphere, and that's what a lot of great metal does. The goal is to create a transcendent experience out of an organic approach. That's what a lot of great metal does. And, you know, if you don't have that organic approach, and if you don't have that transcendent experience, you're going to end up having rock. You're going to end up having a fabricated product that is just about, you know, the typical things that fuel all of humanity. You have your sex, drugs, all of that shit, all of that fleeting escapist garbage. That's not what metal is supposed to be about. And this kind of music, similarly, does not have a message. It's just rhythms and ethereal sounding guitar over the top to give you that texture to kind of distract you from just that percussive aspect of the music. And then you have little bits of essentially randomized melody thrown in, which do not drive the music at all. It's just there as a palate cleanser in between the chugs, because all people care about is that rhythm. You got to have that rhythm, because that'll give you the same experience that you're going to get out of, hip hop and rap. And that's the kind of fans that we have here. So what someone has done now is taken all of those elements that you can easily emulate, easily program, and decided to create a program that will spit it back out at you, and it's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious because it's universally loved in the comments section. Everybody is like, oh, I've been trying to do this on my own in an organic way, and now someone has solved it, and god damn it, I love this shit so much more than the actual bands that are participating on it. And what that tells you is that people don't want a human experience anymore. They don't want to try to understand the artist. They don't want to try to understand the player. They just want that rhythm jammed into their faces, and they want quasi-interesting layers on top, just so that they can pretend to have depth with it. That's all that it is. And what this is essentially, it's a deep fake in musical form. It's a Marvel movie. It's the idea of plugging in whatever and having no actual relatable experience attached to it, and just calling it high art. And if you want to talk about like Marvel movies, like, why do we even have actors anymore? It's all just people standing in front of a green screen. Just deep fake all of it. Just shit out a product that everyone's going to love. Just give us a template that everybody can pretend to relate to. Why even bother with all these high-paid assholes? Anyway, this is green screen metal. It's green screen deep fake garbage. So what I want to do is show you guys what that sounds like. And it's hilarious because it's interchangeable with everything that's actually produced, mastered, recorded in the studio. Well, recorded, it's all sound replaced anyway. But here's what it sounds like. And the way he created it was he sampled all of the notes on his guitar, and he programmed in a bunch of different variables to spit out the idea of randomized, mathematical, yet rhythmic music that still relies on open chugs and has the little bit of breaks for room for melody, but it's essentially the same recipe I've described. So I'm going to play you the first couple minutes of this 10-hour slog that everyone is fucking jerking themselves off over. So I gave this a quick skim. I just kind of took the placing of the player and just kind of went through each hour for just a little bit. And it is all the same kind of shit, but it does create different vibes depending on the key that he programs in. He programs in a key first, and then all the other shit is auto-generated. And he says that an entire song will be generated in like 10 milliseconds. It's fucking crazy. It's really an impressive program, but you could hear all of the tropes being thrown at you here. You have the rhythmic dropout, and then you have the heavy rhythm guitars coming in after that. I skimmed through it, and they also have the typical have your guitar intro have a quieter EQ, and then you'll hit them real hard with the rhythm when it comes in. All of that shit is here because it's become such an inundation of tropes that you could just take the ideas and copy paste and create a song. So this genre is dead now. Like, why do anything else with this? Like, all of those bands that do this shit, your Animals as Leaders, your Periphery, all of that shit, just stop. It's over. Like, it's been solved. It's like, why play checkers since checkers been solved? You know, play chess, play actual metal, play chess instead of this fucking nonsense. You know, but they won't because this sound and this approach has universal appeal and among idiots. And a lot of people in the comments sections are saying, instead of it being bummed out that their approach, you know, people are somehow passionate about this, about performing this kind of shit. A lot of the ones that are doing this kind of music are saying, instead of being upset that it's been so easily replicated, are saying that it's inspiring, that they want to do this themselves. They want to use computers to help them write their shit. It's unbelievable. But, you know, I've heard this kind of approach before. I've heard more of like a parody version. I've heard like death metal AI generators where you could still hear bits and pieces of like Hammer Smash Face. It's not like this. It's just they took a bunch of samples of records and just made a randomized aspect of it for you to listen to. But this is a completely different idea than that, and it's terrifying. You know, that this takes all of the artistic validity that it could potentially have, which isn't much at all, and just throws it out the window. I mean, the only way you can really differentiate yourself from the pack in this genre is if you're, more mathematical than the next guy, more rigid in your tempos, or I don't know, what else can you bring to the table? There's really nothing there, and the reason why it was programmed like this is because there is nothing there. It's so easy to do. You couldn't get actual metal to be replicated by a computer program like this. It wouldn't be possible because it requires all kinds of peaks and valleys in emotion and dynamics and intent that you could hear through the music. You can hear a creator's intent based on their melodic choices. This has none of that, and it's still lauded as being fucking awesome. This is and the more people experiment with this, the further down the rabbit hole we're going to go, and we're going to completely divorce ourselves even further from any essence of what metal could be. And you know, this is just the beginning of the end. I mean, it was the beginning of the end decades ago, but I guess this is the end stage. This is it. You know, it's been solved. There's nowhere to go. It's been cornered and figured out. So, God help us all. Anyway, thank you for listening.